Young people just don't care about privacy these days. Does that sound familiar? Over the past 17 years of my work in the privacy area, I can't tell you how many times I've heard this comment, usually from a parent or an older American, say Gen X or older. And college students today have just spent the majority of their lives simultaneously inhabiting physical space and digital space. Kids have smartphones and iPads and social media, and childhood is taking place in an attention economy, featuring the infinite scroll and constant connection and what older people perceive as pretty routine oversharing. And with all this going on, I can see why they think young people don't care about privacy. I've even had some of my students mention a similar idea to me about their peers on occasion. But I think this idea is mistaken. I think it's often based on observations about the unceasingly connected lives of young people. And often older people aren't considering how younger people are interacting in this digital environment, particularly with respect to social media. When it comes to young people, I'm not really sure what drives this narrative, but I think it has to do with the way privacy as a concept or value has been presented, or more problematically, not been presented. And young people are certainly early adopters of emerging technologies and the latest app, but using technology is not and shouldn't have to be incompatible with caring about privacy. Privacy is bigger than technology. So it's important that we shift this perspective. In spite of this popular narrative, I think young people actually do care about privacy, probably even more than they think they do. Now, how we perceive and treat other people can absolutely affect the way they see themselves. And how we perceive ourselves, what we think we care about, is often going to shape our conduct. So privacy is an individual interest, but it's also a collective action problem. It's something that we all need to care about, recognizing its value in society in order to protect it. So let's dismantle this myth. Let's look at social media. This is the number one reason young people are accused of being privacy agnostic. Now, when I talk to my students, undergrad and graduate students, they inevitably are using 3, 4, or more different kinds of social media apps. Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn, Twitter, now X, Be Real. But when asked, they uniformly do not put the same content or share in the same way on these different devices and apps. They have different audiences and different purposes. And this more nuanced understanding that context matters, this is privacy. And we all intuitively understand this point. We don't tend to share the same information with our parents and our kids, our employers and our doctors. Privacy is about context, deciding what information to share with whom and when. And valuing privacy in this context means wanting to rely on the idea that these different contexts don't collapse. So we had keep out signs on our doors and locks on our diaries and hanging out at the football game on Friday night with our friends and without our parents. Young people today have multiple digital avenues of communication. And recent studies have shown that young people are more likely to use passcodes on their devices and privacy settings on their apps. So times have changed. And certainly, new technologies present new challenges for parents. Undoubtedly, young people have negotiated a number of issues with their parents over the years, having to do with monitoring of their texts, social media presence, internet searches, tracking of their location using their devices or services like Life 360. And sometimes this tracking continues into college. Or their parents posting of information or pictures of them on their parents' own social media sites. This is a phenomenon so common it's earned the term sharenting. These are all privacy issues. And ultimately, young people have to be able to make decisions affecting privacy on their own. Take sexting. Sexting is far more common than parents even want to contemplate. Most young adults are aware of sexting gone wrong when intimate images are circulated to unintended audiences. Now, resharing sexual images without consent or posting this content online is fundamentally a privacy violation, not to mention an unconscionable breach of trust. It's not a big leap to think that young people would probably like to limit access to their intimate expression. This is a privacy issue. And just going to college, adulting, living in dorms, presents scads of privacy issues. First of all, people have to create privacy in shared spaces, navigate issues of identity, sexual, and gender. These are privacy issues. Some people survive sexual assault, literal invasions of their physical privacy, or deepfakes, AI-generated nude pictures that absolutely look real. This is a privacy violation affecting dignity and identity, image and security. And some students will want to participate in protests or demonstrations about controversial political issues, and they may be surveilled while doing so. Surveillance of students increased during the pandemic. Students' movements across campus were tracked, their biodata was surveilled, and as classes and exams went online, cameras with monitoring software and eye tracking technology came into bedrooms and dorm rooms. And certainly some of these are justifiable responses to a public health crisis. But some of these measures have persisted, and some young people are not fans. COVID in general gave more people an understanding of what it feels like to be surveilled. Freedom from surveillance, this is a privacy issue. Young people are facing yet another variety of surveillance when they apply for jobs. Prospective employers are increasingly using AI to assist in hiring, requiring applicants to participate in videoed interviews where their facial expression, tone of voice, word choice, and affect are analyzed. Gamified online interactions give rise to inferences about personality type that employers take into account. And sometimes people have to survive this automated gauntlet before they ever get to see a human being. And there is very little visibility into these processes. So these developments complicate our ability to control how we present ourselves to the world. This is a privacy issue. And honestly, surveillance is just baked right in to our everyday lives, which are powered by surveillance technology, our mobile devices, and the internet. And young people know they're tracked online. And some even say, well, I don't mind the targeted ads, the ads about products that they've shopped for online. But most are not thrilled to learn that information about their mental health, their financial circumstances, their location, and their religion can lead to exploitative ads. Ads that are driven by their inclusion on data brokers' lists of people prone to depression, or rural and barely making it, or people who have been to an abortion clinic or visited a mosque. They're not excited to learn that the content they receive online is directed by algorithms. It's not all about the ads. That campaigns have micro-targeted political messages to individuals to exploit their fears and vulnerabilities in a highly personalized way. That micro-targeting can be used and has been used to encourage people to just stay home on election day. There are plenty of people out there who do not want young people to vote. So when people have this better understanding of what's happening with their data behind the scenes and how their data can be used against them, they're often incredulous or depressed or angry. Using people's granular personal information to manipulate their decision-making, this is a privacy issue. And other decisions implicate privacy as well. Most young people think they should be the ones to decide who they want to date, who they want to sleep with, ultimately, who they might like to marry. Young people often think they should be able to have sex, even if they don't want to get pregnant, and thus should have access to contraceptives. Young people often think they should be the ones to decide whether or not to have a child if they do become pregnant. These are all privacy issues that are affected by our laws. So when you think about this pervasive surveillance that young people encounter every day, at home, at school, during COVID, looking for jobs, on their devices, online, making everyday and important personal decisions, seems like we as a society may be implicitly and increasingly sending them the message that they can't expect privacy. Right? Some of the time we're telling them, oh, don't share. Much of the time, we're making them share. Right? Privacy is culturally anchored. And societal norms are extremely powerful. Privacy has to be respected to be expected. And some people do not expect as much privacy as others. Privacy is not equally accessible to all people in the United States. Black and brown communities are more highly surveilled than white communities, and surveillance disproportionately affects members of marginalized groups, lower income individuals, and people with disfavored political views. And some young people are acutely aware of this reality. And in this sense, privacy is power. So, here's what privacy isn't. Privacy is not all about keeping secrets. Privacy can't be reduced to whether you know how to use privacy settings or regularly read lengthy privacy policies larded with legalese. You can have Snapchat and an Apple Watch and still care about privacy. You can use Spotify and Find My, the perennial favorite, and still care about privacy. Caring about privacy does not mean that we have to disconnect from reality and live off the grid. Privacy is a capacious concept. And to give young people the credit that they are due, I think it is not a leap to think that when asked to consider these multiple and interrelated dimensions of privacy, that privacy is about the right to shape one's own identity, to maintain relationships with different groups of people, to protect personal information, to make decisions autonomously, to think and learn freely, to be free of manipulation and surveillance, to live in a functioning democracy. Yeah, I think young people do care about privacy quite a lot. So why does it matter if young people care? Well, our perceptions of ourselves, what we think we care about, affects our conduct. If we think of ourselves as people who care about privacy, we're more attuned to potential privacy violations and privacy harms. We're more observant, more willing to ask questions, more likely to opt out. If we think of ourselves as people who care about the privacy issues that arise with our friends and family, significant others, neighbors, employers, we are compelled to more carefully consider the role that both our government and corporations play systemically in our ability to access privacy. And even if we do care about privacy, this is not something we can manage one person at a time. Our privacy problem is systemic. Individual control does not scale. Privacy in a world of big data is a social problem that demands collective action. It means that we have to vote for people who understand these issues, who will pass laws, create rules, and craft policies that protect privacy. It means that we have to embrace companies that deal in good faith with their consumers and do not exploit us. It means that we have to think about other people and their right to privacy when we make decisions for ourselves that affect others. Privacy is fundamentally a negotiation of power. And the things we think we care about, those are the things we will work to protect. So when we shift our perspective and get this better understanding of what privacy actually is, it seems that people do care about it, including young people. And it is a good thing because you are the future. And we have a lot of work to do. Thank you.